Welcome back, everybody. It is Monday, and boy, do we have a show ready for you. Before we get started, everybody that's in the chat, please hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you already subscribed, hit the share button and invite some friends over to watch the show. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, stay in the comments because we love to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, tonight, we're not just here to spill tea. We're here to deliver some truth. Because in the court of public opinion, your fame doesn't buy you immunity, and your followers definitely don't make you above the law. Tonight, we examine 5 explosive cases where fame collides with justice. From wire fraud and reality TV gun threats to gospel coercion and Silicon Valley-style scandal. But don't get it twisted. This isn't just gossip, I promise. These are cautionary tales about legal accountability in a world where celebrity influence can sway perception faster than a judge can drop a gavel. Let's take our seats in the courtroom where fame is on trial and the truth is the only verdict that matters. Court is now in session. Joining us tonight are our legal beagles. First up, we have that fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner, counselor. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, Your Honor. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited. We have a full house tonight.
We do. And how was your weekend?
Oh, I had a great weekend. It had one theme, soccer. So my boys play soccer, and so there was a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday, and I managed to have wine on my deck with a friend, so it was very nice.
A male friend?
No, one of the moms from the school, but it was still fun.
All right, you do look like a soccer mom, though. Joining the soccer mom tonight is the author, Shit They Never Taught You in Law School, which is a bestseller on Amazon. Counselor Weiss, welcome to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I'm extremely impressed. You got the title right tonight, so I got nothing more to say. It's a great night for me.
All right. Also joining Weiss and Turner is that humorist at law, Sean Carter, after vacation in Vegas. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Glad to be back. Glad to just be anywhere I'm not losing money, so I'm happy.
And last, definitely but not least, we have the entertainment and law Esquire, entertainment Esquire, Ashley Carter. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be back.
All right, everybody. Be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. And as always, jump down in the chat. We love to see everyone back in joining us tonight. Abby NYC, the MM family, Kai, SL, JP Mills, Tanya Kelly, Lee Wild Coyote, Dominic Brooks. Everybody, welcome back. Let's get started. First up, Marsau Scott. He's a TV contractor, husband, and a familiar face on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Well, guess what? Recently, he was booked in Madison County, Alabama for aggravated speeding. Not just a lead foot, y'all. Scott allegedly blew past the limit and blew off his court date at the same time. That triggered what's called an alias warrant. And just like that, his storyline went from reality TV to courtroom drama. Now, this is what I want to make sure we understand. Aggravated speeding is no joke, and especially in the state of Alabama. Also in the state of Alabama, when you ignore a court date, the law doesn't just forget. A repeat offender like Scott could be looking at serious consequences, and I'm going to throw to attorney Jason Weiss to break down what's really going on. Let's talk about aggravated speeding. What does that actually mean? And another term that I'm not familiar with is alias warrant. Attorney Weiss, tell us, why are both aggravated speeding and alias warrant very important in this case?
So we're going to start with aggregated speeding. So each state has their own criteria. So Atlanta, which is where this happened, says that if you're Alabama, because I was going to say in Atlanta there's a different one, but in Alabama where it happened, 25 miles over the speed limit, that is called aggravated or aggressive speeding, and it mandates a higher fine and possibly even a suspension of license. I said Atlanta because I have a family member who is not my wife and who's not somebody who lives under my roof. I'll put that disclaimer. Who got pulled over for speeding in Atlanta, and it was 30 miles over, and that was considered aggravating speeding in Atlanta. So, but here it's Alabama. It's 25 miles an hour over. The alias warrant is also something that we would call here in Florida, and most states call it. It's called a bench warrant. So what does that mean? It means that a judge like yourself, Your Honor, is not going to go ahead and dispatch a bailiff or dispatch a deputy or dispatch whatever to that person's house. It's possible, more than likely not going to happen based on limited resources. But what will happen is you get pulled over for another ticket. You go through TSA. Somewhere where you have to show ID and they scan your ID. It's going to show up that there is a warrant and you will be taken into custody right then and there.
I'm so glad you said that. Really quickly, I want to jump in here. I was at TSA like last weekend. One day I was taking a trip and the guy in front of me scanned his ID and they told him that he was not able to board. He was not able to go further in the TSA. And the next thing you knew, these cops jumped out like came from nowhere and they arrested him. When did they start doing that at the TSA check-in?
Anywhere where your government issued ID is required or they check. So if a police officer pulls you over and just wants to see your ID and they punch it up, that's the first thing they check. TSA has it. Homeland Security has it. If you go to renew your driver's license, it has it. If you try to go to a court proceeding sometimes and you have to show your ID, they could have it. Most of the time it's for something like this: failure to appear at a court, failure to show up to a hearing, failure to pay child support. You can get a bench warrant out for that. So there are lots of things that it's basically like, oh, I won't show up or I won't do it and they're not going to arrest me. But when they catch you, that's it. So what happened now? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, go ahead.
So what I was going to say, what happened in this one is he was booked on March 28th for doing more than 25 miles over the speed limit. So that's the aggressive. And he was out less than 2 hours later by posting a whopping $300 bond. He got out. He was supposed to go to court, never showed up at court. And that's why they went ahead and put this alias warrant or this bench warrant out for him. He's gotten speeding tickets, at least 4 in the past. I don't know, and I haven't seen anything about that, if they were considered aggravated or aggressive. This is the first time he did not show up to court, and now he does have an alias warrant out for his arrest. Now, interesting, this is, I think, the 4th member of the show now that has been arrested. His brother was arrested for DUI back in 2024. Destiny Payton was arrested on identity theft, and Holt was the last name, was having to do with domestic violence and sort of communication that wasn't supposed to happen.
To be on Love and Marriage Huntsville, you have to, if you are a male cast member, you have to have been arrested.
Yep. So I think that's the criteria. They'll probably give you a 180-day window to get on the show and then get arrested. So he fell right into there. The aggravated speeding, really not much. He may have gotten driving school. They may have suspended his license for a little while, but not showing up to a hearing and having an alias warrant, they ain't messing around.
Is that bigger? Let's go to you, Attorney Carter. This is what I want to know. Now, what we know about Marsau Scott is that he has had speeding violations in 2008, 2009, 2018, and 2020. Does the fact that he had repeated offenses, could that lead to harsher penalties or make an impact on his driving privileges? And which is worse, an outstanding bench warrant or repeated offenses and then being tagged with what they call aggravated speeding?
Aggressive. It's aggressive or aggravated. Yeah, that just has to do with the amount over the limit.
Yeah. Which Attorney Carter?
You.
Sean Carter.
Sean, fair enough. Let me tell you, and here's the thing about it is, these things you've heard it before, points toward on your license, right? So then it not just affects you whether they give you suspend your license, how long they suspend it, whether they take it away. You can actually be criminally charged. It's a misdemeanor charge. You can go to jail for this type of stuff. but also more importantly, maybe he should be considering his insurance, because he's not getting Geico, or Progressive, right? He gonna have to get the mob's insurance, and the thing about it is, like, all this stuff just adds up in cost, and it's hard to argue when you've had that many transgressions. But the thing is, as Attorney Weiss was saying, or I'm not sure if it's possible to get on a show if you haven't been arrested a few times. I was looking at this, and it just looks like, this is, by the way, Oprah's network own. And so she got to own a little bit of this stupidity, because she was supposed to be positive. What happened to giving out the books in the book club? And you got people out here who are on TV. Now think about it. It's bad enough that you're going to be driving crazy and acting a fool, calling your ex-wife. One guy, I love this, Moses, was one of the newer cast members. He got sentenced to 11 months in prison for parole violations. His parole violation was going to Huntsville and shoot the show. He wasn't supposed to leave his current state. Now, how you going to leave the current state and get on TV and think you can like
They need that money, buddy.
It's just like when people put threats on social media. It's like, why are you advertising your
crime?
Breaking the law, the crimes. Yeah. He probably just didn't think it all the way through.
Well, it's just like the man who was in front of you at TSA. He knew his license had information that was going to get him arrested. Like, people just don't connect the dots. So the algoriters need to know that if somebody is looking for you, and when I say somebody, I'm talking about the judicial system. What you need to do is lay low. Anywhere you have to produce your ID, they will know who you are and they will find you. Period. The end. No, that's a hard stop. And like female Attorney Carter was just saying, not that we condone such things. You should not do such things. However, if you're having a temper tantrum and you want to send an angry message to your soon to be ex-husband's paramour and call her names and say, if you see her, you're going to slap the white off her. Like, don't do that on social
personal.
No. Attorney Turner, you're wrong. Don't use your own account when you're doing it on social media. Use Sean Carter's account. His password is 1234, like the code of my luggage. We're good to go.
All right, KS says that I misspelled. KS says I misspelled. I mispronounced Marsau, so it should be Marsau. It's pronounced Marsau. Is that correct?
Yes, Marsau. And like Whitney Houston said, you better lay low.
You better lay low. All right, speaking of laying low, Plummer and the Zeus Network, sex, lies, and streaming. Next on the docket, we have Zeus Network founder Lem Plummer. D-Storm Power, a YouTuber and one of Zeus's early stars, dropped a bomb alleging fraud, investor betrayal, and even a cover-up of sexual assault footage involving Zeus talent. If those accusations hold water, Plummer could be facing civil suits for breach of contract and negligence. Failing to address also the sexual assault claims could also open the door for corporate liability as well as serious brand collapse. All right, I'm going to throw to you, Attorney Entertainment Esquire.
Lemmy Plummer, or Lemon Pepper as y'all call him, is up on X spewing lies. But let me tell you something. Never trust tweets, only trust receipts. I'm about to break down for you the entire situation when it comes to Zeus ownership. I get a call from a good friend of mine, Lemuel Morris. Congrats on your Emmy, by the way, my brother. Lemuel tells me that he has a colleague named Lemmy Plummer who wants to meet with me about starting a social network. His pitch was he wanted to start a black Netflix for influencers and call it the Social Network, which was already a Facebook movie, by the way. He offered me a good amount of equity in the company and said he was going to look out for Lemuel for connecting us. He never looked out for Lemuel. Now, at the time, I had the biggest series on the internet called The Cart Series. Wait, baby, don't do that. Over 500 million views. It was nominated for an Emmy, 4 Streamies, winning 2. Then Lemmy asked me, are there any other influencers I could bring on as partners, because we needed some heavy hitters in social media for this thing to work. I said, how about I reach out to another longtime friend of mine, King Patch. He had the numbers. Lemmy agreed. Batch agreed to join. Let me say we need one more partner, some diversity. So Batch reached out to Jake Paul, but Jake was working on another project and said, I'll at least give y'all an episode on round one.
Welcome to the Taj Mahal.
Then Batch said, what about another good friend of ours, Amanda Cerny? She was getting millions of views, making millions of dollars off of brand deals. We all agreed. Now at 3 months and a couple $100,000 just to prove that he's telling another fucking lie. We've been literally fighting this dude in court for 2 years, y'all. I found out that Zeus has multiple lawsuits that Lemmy done settled behind our backs. And when you hear all these women on TikTok or you hear Ray J going off and shit.
To all the women that's going through this with Lemmy and going through this with Zeus, like we hear you and we gonna help you.
We're gonna stay in this room for 3 to 4 hours until you do what I tell you to do.
I don't f with that nigga.
Why not? Wait. You worked with him
he's
before?
like the Black Harvey Weinstein.
Wow.
Okay, so this is my question. I guess we're going to throw it to you, Ashley. This is my question. There are multiple things going on here, right? There's breach of contract and fraud. There's negligence and abuse claims, and then there's corporate governance. What do you want to attack first?
I'm going to group some together. So the fraud relates to the tax issue. So if you put down that your company makes certain millions of dollars and that the co-founders, these people, the guy that was just on the screen and a couple of the co-founders are making a certain amount, then they're going to be taxed as such. But if they never truly receive the money, then that's fraud. Like that's fraud to say that this company is worth this and it's earning this and its co-founders are making this, if that's not the actual reality, because people are paying taxes on money they have not received. So I know that was a big part of the complaint.
Right.
Another part of the complaint was that some employees complained that they were never paid. They said that a producer had created some beats or some music for the network, was never paid. Then there are additional reports, and this is what we just saw a few seconds ago, several sexual assault reports behind the scenes. I have a friend that is on the inner circle of this, and I actually knew about this for some time. I knew this was coming down the pipeline. That's why he said, he's been in court. We've been in court with him for 2 years, but we're finding out that he's been doing a lot of settlements behind our backs. The thing is, if you have a company and people own shares, because you heard what he said, they gave money for equity, you can't be settling civil lawsuits, especially sexual assault stuff, without telling them. That's part of the corporate governance thing. Like even if you're settling it, you have to let them know. You can't just settle and say, here, take some money, don't say anything. And then the people that have equity in your company don't know what's happening. Like that's just not the way to do it. And then I think it was, and then obviously the obvious one, failing to pay investors. I mean, if you're not paying your investors properly, that's obviously a no-no. So yeah, all this is tied in. Of course, Lemmy has only responded to more the money employment law matters. He actually hasn't said anything in response to the sexual assault because I don't think he wants to. He probably has settled a lot of the stuff behind scenes. He's probably still settling things. But like the girl said, they are accusing him of being almost like a Black Jeffrey Epstein.
Let's go to you, Attorney Sean Carter. What do you think about this concept of you're making millions of dollars now? Millions. They're doing gross amounts of money over there. But he only owed the first guy there only gave him in the beginning, D Storm Power only gave him $170,000. Why would you jeopardize all of your credibility, all of this legal turmoil, which is going to cost you more than $170,000 to straighten it out? Why don't you just pay the man?
You would think you would, right? But here's the problem, though, is that he has the money. He's running the books. He has control of the checkbook. These other three people are influencers. They're out doing their thing. They're not really watching. So he's like, and I don't know about you, but once money comes in my pocket, I kind of think it's mine a lot. Right. And so the idea of paying out to what you owe, you don't really think that's extra stuff. Now, the thing that's really messed up here, and Attorney Carter talked about that, was the idea that he was sending these people out what are called K1s. All right. And by the way, this is for, and I want to talk to us black people because we love an LLC. We say, oh, I got to get an LLC. I seen people, you get a baby, first birthday party, get an LLC. Understand what an LLC does is an LLC says, whatever money this company earns, you are going to pay taxes on it today, whether you get the money today or not. If you notice, big companies might make millions of dollars, but people like Jeff Bezos, he doesn't get a dime because he gets more appreciation of his stock. So his money grows over time. He doesn't pay taxes on it. When you have LLC, you got to pay taxes on whatever the company owned, whether you got it or not. So he's saying we're on millions now in taxes for money we're not going to get. And you might want to keep some of that money in the company to not pay the taxes. So LLC, has its drawbacks. Let's be clear about that. But that said, with regard to this, I took a look at it and kind of thought about it. What would I do if I was advising them? If you're an influencer, someone comes to you and says, hey, we should start a joint venture. Then you got to do a couple of things. If you set up as an LLC, you got to make sure that you have provisions in there that, for instance, say, hey, you're going to at least pay me out the amount of taxes I owe every year.
Yep.
All right. And there's a way to figure that out. So at the very least, I'm not going to come out of my pocket if we're making money here, right, for you to continue doing that. Secondly, you want to make sure that you have someone on your team who is a business person and will be able to have audit rights, go look at the books, because the problem is they don't know how much money that company Zeus is making. And I tried to look at it. I can't tell either.
Well, they know how much they are making based on their tax liability, based on the percentage that allegedly they are partnership for.
They do have
a
that.
guesstimate that if they owe $5 million, because he's saying that he's getting these incredibly insane tax liabilities, like a couple of $1 million, and he's like, wait a minute. I haven't even gotten back my initial 170.
Right. And that's the other thing is I'm sure that 170 wasn't papered properly. I'm sure it wasn't a note to the company. It's just here, I'll send you over the money, pay me back when you get it. And actually, he talked about that.
Was it an investment or was it, was it like an angel investor that come in?
His was actual money. So he gave money.
No. You can give money.
He gave money.
That money.
He gave
but that money. No. But that money, is it equity in the company where the 170 is equal to 10%?
Clearly, it is because he's getting a tax bill.
Well, but he already got that because remember all of them, even if they didn't put up any money, because they were producing content. So the deal was he came to them and said, look, you guys have all the content. I'll split the company with you. I'll do the business side. You do the content side. The extra $130,000 or $70,000, whatever that money was that came there. And Attorney Weiss is right about that. It's right to question it. You don't know if that's a capital contribution, whether that you bought that equity or whether, and that's why you really got to get this stuff paid.
Well, what's the difference? I want to hear that because I want to know for myself. So as an investor, if I give to a startup, because we all help friends by giving them money. If I give to a startup and I'm one of the 4 people that gave the initial investment, what would I be considered?
It depends. What does the piece of paper say?
Your paperwork. Yeah. So either you are giving money for straight up equity or you're getting money for your money back plus interest, or you could be doing a hybrid of the two. It just depends. Right. Yeah. You have to specifically say.
And you could have sweat equity too, right? You could put in $10,000 and say, I'm going to promote it on air. I'm going to promote it on show. And that gives you another 10% of the company. So it all just needs to be papered. And that's the important thing. And Sean, like you said, with the LLC, you could set up an LLC, but you could have it taxed in various different ways. So you got to file your paperwork with the IRS, and that'll help you figure out what kind of taxes. Because
how does the IRS know what to charge those initial 3 investors as a part of the profit of Zeus Network?
Because
the
K1s.
K1s. Okay, got it.
Yeah. All right. The K1s will say how much supposedly you should be being taxed, but they're saying, hey, we never even received this money in the first place, too.
Right.
Tax. So we're being taxed like millionaires, but we've never received it. And I'm glad Jason mentioned the sweat equity. For example, I'm working on a couple of apps, and one of my apps, the guy, he's basically building it for me. So I'm not paying him. I'm paying him through equity because He's doing the hard work and actually putting the app together. So he has a percentage of my company. So yeah, it could be sweat equity, actual money, you know, services. It could be all sorts of things in exchange for ownership.
Look,
all right. I want to also touch on, I want to touch on also the sexual assault cases. Where do we stand with all these women that are accusing him of sexual assault, and how negligent is it to just kind of ignore it?
Well, he's not ignoring it. I think the problem he's saying, the Storm or whatever the guy is that was speaking on the video, he was saying that he's settling things behind their back. They don't know what's going on. I mean, you are opening them up as co-founders liability. We've seen this, you know, not to bring him up because he's not on the docket tonight, but we've seen this with Diddy, right? You know, Diddy, when people sue, they don't sue Diddy by himself. They're suing Bad Boy Entertainment, Cook Enterprises, Comb Enterprise, because really after a while the individual doesn't really have any money. It's the company. So even if you are settling some stuff behind the scenes, let me know that you're doing this, because I don't need anybody circling back on me
and possibly suing them as a co-founder. Got it.
So this is where the corporate governance is coming in. He's really failing to include them in what is going on with the company. Even if it wasn't sexual assault, there's a complaint about a producer not being paid. I mean, these are all like employment law related issues. You got to let your co-founders know.
Gotcha.
And the one thing is this: look, if you're going to open up an LLC or an Inc. and you're going to do it in your own name and it's just you, that's all fine, right? But the second you bring somebody in and you give them a fraction of a percentage, you need an operating agreement or a shareholders agreement, depending on what it is, and that will govern who can vote, how taxes are paid, what distributions are, who can do what. Such an important document that most people don't even think, oh, we're partners 50-50. Well, if it's not in writing, it ain't. It doesn't matter.
You have to decide, like, if it's going to be member managed or manager managed and all of those details.
Yep.
I mean, your question, Your Honor, highlights a very important point, which is ghetto rules can't control. So people think that, like, just because they put down a certain amount,
they don't look like they put no work agreements or anything together on this.
Not the ghetto rules. I love
all right, go ahead, Attorney Turner. Go ahead.
But yeah, you have to have documents describing the circumstances and the parameters of your ownership. And if you don't get those, then you end up with these kind of confusing problems, which is, I don't know how much money I actually made. I know I have zero, but I have this document telling me I have some income, and now I have to pay taxes on it. And the IRS rules are that, you know, once you get that K-1, that's how they assess what you owe. And so now you're like, but I'm confused and I'm broke, and I'm having to ask, you know, Attorney Weiss out of the proceeds of his book, can I get a loan because I don't have the money to pay the IRS based on my proceeds from Celebrity Court? Just saying.
All right, everybody, we're learning tonight. Be sure to hit that like button. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you already subscribed, be sure to hit the share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, keep it coming in the chat. All right, as if ghetto rules weren't applied with the Zeus Network, guess who else? Beautiful Girls and Bad Decisions. Sean Kingston and his mother have been convicted of wire fraud and conspiracy in a $1 million scheme that duped jewelers, electronic dealers, as well as car sellers. From luxury lies to federal charges, the price of Fexlin has never been higher. Wire fraud, as you know, is a federal felony. And in this case, the sentence could include heavy prison time, as well as restitution and the end of Kingston's public career. But will you ask, what about his mother? She has been taken into custody. Kingston, however, is on house arrest with a sentencing date looming. We're going to throw to you, Attorney Sean Carter. Tell me, there's wire fraud conviction here. There's Kingston's career here. There's what else we have?
His mama.
His mama. who, if from my understanding, Attorney Weiss, because he's in Florida, tells us that she's in federal detention. Correct, Attorney Weiss?
Yep, she is. She did not leave the courthouse. And there he is.
Now, what does it mean that she didn't leave the courthouse? Why not?
She didn't leave the courthouse because she has a prior embezzlement conviction. She spent a year and a half already in the pen for stealing $160,000 from somebody, and now she decided she wanted to start again. You know, I thought I looked at the little face, the little baby face. I was like, maybe Mama was responsible for this. Maybe Mama pushed him into this because you know how y'all mamas are. But it turns out, and you know what, y'all can just. Can we get that off the screen?
Where is his ankle bracelet?
He's got it all hanging out.
Where is his ankle bracelet?
What did you say, Sean Carter? Zoom in a little bit?
No, we don't need to zoom in on that at all. We don't. We also
He is very comfortable with who he is, and he is owning all of his manhood.
I guess.
Well, it must be hiding.
I think he's owning other people's manhood too. So.
Go ahead, Attorney Carter. I'm sorry.
No. And so this is what they were doing. Just to be clear, they would go to a vendor, you know, whether it be a car dealership, etc., and say, look, I'm Sean Kingston. Don't you remember me? And people are like, no, ain't nobody remember you. You had one song in 2007. All right. I had to go Google you. All right. Ain't nobody remember you. But apparently somebody remembered him. He was like, hey, you know what? I want this car. I left my wallet at home, but let me do this. You know, you can trust me. I'm Sean Kingston. I'm a beautiful girl. I got the song. Send me the car over. I will go ahead and wire you the money. In one case, he had his mama forge a wire slip that says, hey, we wired this money to you for a home entertainment system. Now, here's what I love about this, how dumb this is. If they know your address, right, for a home entertainment system, they just send it to your house, all right? You're not going to get away with that, right? You're not going to be able to they ain't going to forget where you live. I mean, it's just ignorant stuff. He spent, what, $238,000 on a watch for his big chunky wrist? All right, what the hell? He know what time it is. All right, just look. He can tell from the sun on his big ass what time it is all the time. All right, he got his own sundial there. What the hell is he doing? And it was just ignorant. All right, it just absolutely, and that's a word for it. Not ignorant, ignorant. IEGNANT. Ignorant. All right. You don't. Here's the thing about it is that I don't understand. I'm almost mad at the vendors. At one point, I was like, you know what? Maybe you should have kept the money, because if someone tells you they sent you a wire, you don't have to believe them. You don't have to look at the paper. All you got to do is go on your phone, right? Look at and the money will be in your account or not, and then you'll know, right? And so it doesn't make any sense that they were doing this. But part of what he was doing is he was doing kind of slick stuff where he'd say, hey, look, we got to premiere tonight. We got to get all this stuff set up for the night. So we got to get this in here now. And he was making a time rush. He also promised that he would give him some, you know, shout out on his Instagram page with 4 viewers. I don't know who the hell. How many of you follow? Put it in the chat if you follow Sean Kingston. All right, ain't nobody following Sean Kingston. All right, and so
Christine Orr said it. He's the Timu version of Diddy and his mama Jack.
But check
out related to that, Judge Al Reynolds. What happened to her wig in that? And you put the.
I don't know.
The mugshot indicates that she's about that life. Mama has done this before. That's why she's in the detention center. The way she's looking at that camera is like, I wish N would. Like, is there for it. He looks scared.
What is taking out the bag? Where does the hairline start?
I know. It's like all the way back there. What I mean, Lord, at least, you know, get some.
All right. So let's go back. So what are we looking at as far as time for Sean Kingston?
They said up to 20 years.
Up to 20 years for each count. So technically they have 5 counts. They could get 100 years. Not likely. Remember, his mama stole $160,000, only got a year and a half. All right. He's on house arrest now, which is, but he did. Here's the weird part is he put up, I think it was 300 or 500, he put up his house for like $300,000 and $500,000 for the house. He put up like $800,000 in bail. So he has some money. If you got some money, why don't you pay for the damn stuff you were buying? All right. He had a little bit of money left. Right. And it's, you know, it's just ignorant. There's no better way to
even buy a pair of pants.
If he's able to put up $8 million, he's frauded people out of $1 million and asking for restitution. That means he has to pay that $1 million back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if he doesn't, what happens then?
Well, that's the least of his problems. He's going, his bigger problem is going to jail. So what happens is, in this case, where you have restitution, you'll go to jail. This is the best part is. And then when you get out, they say, hey, you still owe me $1 million. By the way, you don't have any money. You normally can't get a job. So I've known people who have gone to jail for this type of fraud. And guess what? When they get out, they owe so much money to the court, they start frauding again. Yep. All right, because how else are you going to make the money to pay back?
Bankruptcy?
No, that's one of the things that doesn't get discharged from bankruptcy. Certain things don't.
Yeah,
right? No, but you could work while you're in prison and make $1.
That's what I was going to say. When you go to prison, the money that you owe that puts you in prison, can somebody help pay that down for you, or no?
Sure. Look, nobody cares where the money comes from as long as the victims get that money. Yeah. So if his mom's in jail and he decides that he's going to pay the victims back because he's going to be a good son, he can. You could pay for it. I can pay for it. A GoFundMe page can pay for it.
Well, if his streaming, say for instance, his record label that he signed to from his royalties can go to paying that debt.
Yep.
Chances are they're gonna be garnished and they're going to be used to pay for that debt.
It's kind of like R. Kelly. Remember they garnished the money he was receiving on his books, and people felt bad for because like the little buddy he's getting. They were garnishing the money people were sending to his books from his royalties to pay the victims first.
Yep.
All right, paying the victims first. Oh, this is a sad story. From gospel charts to courtroom shade. Marvin Sapp is being accused of coercion after telling ushers to close the doors during a church service until attendees coughed up $40,000 in offering. Some say it was leadership. Others say it was spiritual extortion. If people were prevented from leaving, this could border on or not false imprisonment. And in public backlash, let's not say what people are thinking about him now. And in the court of public opinion, is he already deliberating? Here's the legal and ethical dilemma that I have, and I want to go to you, Attorney Turner. Is this really false imprisonment, or are they really just exaggerating? Because if congregation members were indeed able to leave and he just closed the door and not lock it, what would constitute false imprisonment, and why are they making this such a big deal?
Wait, I think we got a video.
Yeah.
That is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going no place but to the restaurant.
Child, that's false imprisonment.
I've been waiting to say this all day. Holy hostage, Batman!
Yeah, that's false. That's technically false imprisonment. Because so we're gonna read the definition because we like to do edutainment over here. Okay. False imprisonment is the intentional or unlawful restraint or confinement of a person without their consent or legal justification that makes them stay or go somewhere against their will. So in this case, maybe were some people that say, okay, we'll decide to stay. But for anybody in there that actually wanted to go, for them to close the doors, prevent people from leaving, that's false imprisonment. Someone put it.
But he didn't say he said on the Ricky Smiley show that he didn't prevent anyone from leaving. He said close the door.
But if you close the door, I cannot leave. If you have,
yes, you can. Have you ever been to church?
Standing in front of the door.
Girl, you ain't been to church. You ain't been to church. You can walk right out the door.
Your Honor.
The way he made it seem like no one's leaving.
That's the way he made it seem, but that's not what it was.
But
Your
Honor,
they closed the door. The ushers blocked the door. So unless you're going to get past the usher, how do you get through the door?
He's being too cute by half. Somebody told him that he needed to find some way to dial this back so that he could try to avoid the false imprisonment charges.
Exactly.
But what's not
I think we have another video that even supports that, right?
Yeah, let's see the other video.
People took issue with me saying shut the doors. Understand, I never said lock the doors. Yeah. I said shut the doors. Shedding doors mean that people still have the ability to go in and out. They've taken issue with my tone. And I can honestly say, you know, looking at the video, maybe I was a little more assertive than I should have been. And I can apologize for that. You know, I can apologize for that. But three things I need to make sure that people understood. Number one, the $40,000, if it was $40,000 that was raised, was never given to me. That money was raised for the purpose.
Okay. So this is the reason why I say this. Hold on 1 second, please. Hold on 1 second, please. This is why I say this. Do you guys go to church?
Yes, I was at church on Sunday.
So if you go to church, whether it's Kojic or Baptist, when you do the offering, they close the doors so that the ushers are not held or open to liability of people stealing and running out the church. I don't know. It happens. I used to be on the usher board. I used to collect offering. I'm telling you, closing the doors. They also ask them to close the doors when you're asking people to join the church because they don't want the Holy Spirit to exit the church. I didn't find him saying close the doors as a mean of locking and keeping people in the church.
Well,
and I don't understand how a normal procedure in these churches, especially in the Baptist church and the Kojic church, is now being used as a legal offense.
Well, here's the thing. The Holy Spirit cannot be contained by the doors of the church, but the parishioners can be. And his intent of saying close the doors in that way, because something was happening that was not usual, right? Because he repeats it to ensure that the ushers execute on his words. And he was saying that if each of you do this, then we can get that much money. So he didn't want the requirement that he set out is that he had to get money from everybody in order to hit the goal.
Raise that
so
amount.
He's trying to, and I love Marvin.
Honestly, I gotta tell you guys, I can't agree with you on this one because whenever there's a campaign, a capital campaign at a church, whenever there is a raising money for the pastor anniversary, the pastors always, the ushers, the deacons always say, close the door, and we're trying to raise X amount of dollars for the pastor for his anniversary. No one has to stay. And they're not ushers at the door with brooms or with guns saying, if you move and don't donate, we're going to shoot you, or you're not getting out the church.
I don't know.
I understand how something that
So the Jews do it different.
I think this is why
the Jews do it different.
Wait, the Jews do it different. You don't get in the temple until you pay up front.
You pay.
So you pay up front, and we don't care what you do while you're there. We got your money.
No, let me tell you. You're correct. You're correct. It's not. You're right. It's almost like why is like a typical protocol that kind of most people know all of a sudden. To answer your question, the short answer is, and I think he spoke to it in the second video, I think it was how aggressive he was about it.
And that's the other thing. I promise you, I've seen some aggressive pastors. That was not aggressive.
Well, he apologized for his tone if it made people feel like they couldn't leave because
I think he's on a crisis. I think he's on a crisis communication. He's doing a crisis communication. So now he's right. If he came off as aggressive, if he came off
that you couldn't leave the church, then I apologize for that. That was not my intention.
The only reason I say that is because if you've gone to a Kojic church or if you go to a Baptist church, this happens all the time. This type of language is used all the time when it comes to raising money. All right, everybody, for the building fund, we're trying to get to our $10,000 goal. Everyone, we're going to sit here until we get to the $10,000 goal. Now, that's always done in the church. And you can leave if you don't want to donate, but usually people stay and they humor the pastor until people start giving money. I personally, this is just me, from my public perception and from my public opinion, he didn't coerce anybody to stay in that church. He didn't make you feel like if you didn't give, you were going to go to hell. And also, if you didn't give, you weren't going to get out the church.
But I disagree with you, Your Honor, and here's why, right? I've been going to church my whole life. My dad was a deacon. I've seen some very aggressive attempts to pass the played around. And
so was that false imprisonment?
I've also had church stop until the plate kept going around. Unlike you, I have never been in a church where they've said close the doors. In contrast, when they do the altar call, they say the doors of the church are open. So something happened that Sunday, or we wouldn't even be talking about it. People have been
you clearly don't go to the Southern churches. The Southern churches always.
Sapp's church. He didn't start being a pastor on Sunday. Something happened. People thought they couldn't leave. That's why we're talking about it.
And that's why he had to roll back his intention with his disclaimer.
I disagree.
Again, you don't get in until you pay for the temple. So you pay a year in advance. So
I think the argument, as Shaitan says, and we could all agree to disagree, but the legal argument will be, is there evidence to support that he intentionally tried to restrict people's movements, that people feel like he intended for them to not leave? And if you have evidence to support that one way or another, that's where you get the false imprisonment. And I do think there are arguments on both sides. I hear your argument.
I think that he's, like I said before, he's getting drugged in public opinion. I think legally, I think this is very weak. I think he's fine legally. I think in public opinion, he's being drugged and he's being hung. And that's the only reason that he is or has to address this the way that he's addressing this. I bet you the years of people have gone to that church, that is not the first time that pastor has asked them to close the doors because we're doing something special. We need people to focus. We don't need people running in and out with no babies. We don't need people going to the bathroom. We're trying to raise money right now.
You don't need people going to the bathroom.
I refuse to believe Marvin Sapp put anybody's life in jeopardy of not letting
but it's not. But see, it's false imprisonment has nothing to do with the life. It's as Attorney Carter indicated, whether or not
they're stopping their ability to leave. I don't think
you actually do have to either restrain them with physical force or threats of violence, right? And so the fact that you just say, "Hey, you're a bad person if you leave," does not make it false imprisonment.
Right, but you have to restrict them from leaving, and
so close the doors.
Close the doors doesn't necessarily, like you said, you can open a door. A whole purpose of a door is that it opens and closes. Unless you lock the door.
I want to know, were the bouncers like 100-year-old women, or were they, guys coming straight out?
Here's what I want. I want to hear the entire sermon, because something happened that Sunday that was different than it happened before.
I agree with the judge here.
I'm going to go back and say, you really haven't been going to church, because this happens.
There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors.
Every time. I can't tell you the number of times I go to
someone to tell on him and make it viral. Yes, I think that's her point. Because if it happens every week, why didn't they put up the other videos?
Because I tell you why, because it's goddamn Gen Z.
Marvin Sapp, you're not following Marvin Sapp's PR. He's been having issues with how he's been interpreted. This isn't the first blow up that he's had around, how he handles his church stuff.
Let's start a GoFundMe page for him and raise all the money that the church needs. I do it in advance.
Okay, Brenda says church doors are being closed nowadays for fear of some idiot coming in and gun blazing. That's true. I remember when I was growing up, the pastor always asked for the doors to be closed during offering, because we've had people come in during offering, people who are from the streets on drugs, come in and they rob the church. Right. It depends on where you live. So a lot of people doing offering always say, close the doors, because I am raising money.
I'm just showing up with a dozen eggs and I'll be the best person there.
Another thing, you have to listen closely to his defense in the video, because I thought this was curious too, when he starts saying, I didn't get the money. Well, that's the whole thing. It's generally an appeal to give money to the church. It's not a personal thing like on social media, a GoFundMe campaign. So something is going on in that church that people are suspicious of his motives, and they didn't feel like they could leave. And that's why this went viral. And now I might have to go. I might have to go and sit next to Big Mama, ask her some questions, figure out why, the good pastor ain't getting the love like he did before, because somebody knows that story.
No, think about it. As far as, let me just give you this, the theory that, that something new happened, or understand the people are new now. If my sons, you put my Gen Z kids in church, they're gonna complain about everything that happens. None of it's right. It's too long. It's too whatever. So I don't think this has changed because this is the way it's been forever. Now, if you listen to Pastor Sapp, here's what you need to do. All right, you can either go Jewish, not a bad choice, or you can do what I did and go Mormon. Let me explain to you how the Mormons work. All right, there is no church. There's no money passed out in church. All right, they don't play that. You will never see a dime, no collection plate. And then at the end of the year, the bishop calls you in and says, "Hey, how much did you make last year?" And you say, "Well, $250." He says, "Okay, where's my 25 grand?" And he'll look on a piece of paper because your money came in direct deposit and say, "Oh, you only gave 13 grand. I need 12 grand if you want to go to good heaven."
Is that
and then you choose whether you want to go to good heaven. I choose ghetto heaven every year. But the point is, I'm used to it. I'll be fine. I know how to handle myself.
Are you serious? So they ask you how much you make in the Mormon belief, and you have to pay according to how much you made. And if you don't, what happens?
Then you go to bad heaven. It's like if you smoke cigarettes or drink liquor, you're not really right. It actually is some serious consequence in the sense that you can't go to the temple and there's certain things you can't do. Like for instance, me. All right, I say I'm Mormon, but I'm not a good one. All right, so they don't let me go to a lot of stuff. I'm sort of a second class Mormon, which by the way, being black, I was going to be anyway. All right, but the point is, no need to spend my money. But the point is that there are ways to do this. I've been to some churches more, what would be the word for it? Bougie churches where a lot of people pay by direct deposit. The fact that we're running around holding money, everyone's handing out their little money, and you got to have somebody at the door to make sure that some fool don't come in and rob everybody, lets you know that maybe we need to grift a little better. We need to upgrade the grift. How about a tax?
Close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going no place but to the restaurant.
It's that aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah,
y'all think that's aggressive?
Together.
There's 1,000 of you tonight, and those that are watching, it's 1,000 that's
take off his
watching
bracelet
online.
and donate it.
This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. I'm challenging each of you all down here to give a $20 seed. I think $20 is a lot of money.
I guess I'm used to this. I'm used
$20, believe it or not.
Well, do you
When my late wife
I'm
Elizabeth
used
Sapp was
to
alive,
this
it was a
type
good
of
date.
appeal. I'm used to this type of appeal. So when I go to a church and a pastor says that, I've seen it decades. I've seen it over and over in so many different churches from around the country, around the world that I've attended. I see this all the time. So I'm not sitting there shaking in my boots like, oh, I can't get out of here. I'm in prison. No, I've seen this so much. I've seen this call to give so much in this form that I would never be sitting in that audience thinking I can't get out that church. But speaking of can't get out, and now the Real Housewives have just gotten dangerous. Kenya Moore was allegedly threatened with a firearm by a new cast member,
by an usher from Marvin Sapp's church. Is that what you said?
No. Kenya Moore was allegedly threatened with a firearm by a new cast member, Britt Eddy, and retaliated by exposing explicit footage in what's being called a revenge porn scandal. Kenya claims self-defense. Bravo's responded by firing her, not the alleged aggressor. Now, gun threat and criminal charges. If Britt Eddy brandished or threatened Kenya with a weapon, that could constitute criminal threats, right? Or even assault with a deadly weapon, depending on the jurisdiction. Kenya could file a police report and pursue criminal charges against Britt. I want to go to you, Attorney Ashley Carter, because you're our entertainment attorney here. We got revenge porn. We got criminal threats, we got defamation or self-defense, and we have wrongful termination or retaliation lawsuit. Which one you want to?
Wait, and we have a phenomenal video. We got to do this. We watched this backstage before.
Oh,
we got to do this video.
Let me find my husband first.
I have so many things though. This is a lot.
I still got my pistol, so I'm good.
Girl, Kenny's here. We ain't worried. Okay, can I put this in my car? What are we doing?
Don't play with me, bitch. She's good. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. Everything's good. Kenya, her little ditzy ass. Like, bitch, play that shit in front of the cameras. Don't play that with me. I don't play them games.
Black girl magic?
I don't play them games. I got whip, pistols, everything. Play that shit in front of them camera. Don't play that with me. They need to come take this shit off.
So actually, before I throw to you, I find this very funny because she is a first-year cast member. And one thing these producers would do when they have you mic'd up is make you look insanely stupid and
did a good job.
because she says before this scene came out last night, right? She said she never said that she had a gun. She never threatened a gun. She never mentioned a gun. She's never had a traffic violation. She's never gotten in a fight. She's never done da 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 da. But then they play this video and it's the opposite. Does this mean anything?
I mean, it's like that it just proves that she wasn't being truthful, obviously, in her social media post. Or she could say, maybe I don't recall. I was so heated, I don't recall saying I had pistols. I mean, she can backtrack it however she needs to backtrack it. But the thing is, they didn't make up.
How you backtrack something you say twice?
Well, no, in the sense that you can backtrack and say, well, at the time, I didn't recall mentioning anything about pistols and weapons. But clearly you did, right? Because there's footage. The producers are always going to make you eat your words.
Right.
If you say something, you make any proclamations on social media, and then they have footage to make it. I mean, Real Housewives of Potomac, they are infamous for someone says something and then there's
right. And then they show it. Yeah.
So yeah, once you're on a reality show, you better recall everything, or say, you know what, or just say I don't recall, because if the footage comes out, then at least you don't look like a liar. So I just want to hit quickly, and obviously the other judge, the other attorneys can weigh in. But as you mentioned, there's assault, there's defamation, there is wrongful
revenge porn.
Right, and revenge porn. Right. So as it relates to, so let's just go in order. So assault, typically, it doesn't matter what state. I mean, this is Georgia. You don't actually have to physically touch someone. It's the immediate threat of harm. So if you're hearing someone's like, I still got my pistol and my weapons and I'm gonna do this and that person feels like they're in some sort of immediate harm of being harmed, then that is enough to get you.
That's an assault.
That's enough to get assault. You don't have to physically touch. Now, argument could be, well, she was kind of just spewing off the mouth to her husband. She never directly got into Kenya's face and said, I'm going to shoot you with my pistol, or I'm going to beat you. There's no footage of her saying it ever directly to Kenya. So it could be like, well, how could you think it's a immediate threat? It wasn't even told to you directly. You were just kind of listening from the distance. So anyway, that's just playing devil's advocate as it relates to Britt E defending the assault charge. And then you have the revenge porn. And again, because this is edutainment, I just want to break down revenge porn as it relates to Georgia, because each state is different. So in Georgia, sharing nude or explicit images or videos of someone without their consent is known as revenge porn. Okay. Now, this is where it gets tricky, and this is why maybe you see that there have been no lawsuits of revenge porn. It's been a year, right? There's still been no lawsuits by the network or Edie for revenge porn. It has to specifically covers transmissions, posts to websites, peer-to-peer file sharing websites, thumbnail galleries, movie galleries, webcams, web pages, or message boards that advertise or promote sexual explicit content. Why is this important? Because Kenya didn't post it on any of these things in these categories. It was nothing on a message board. It was nothing online. It wasn't from phone to phone. She literally blew up a picture that already existed of Britt Edie, I believe, having oral sex, and just printed it out. And on top of that, it has been said that the producers actually gave her the blow-up footage. So there's no online transmission, at least under Georgia law, for it to technically be revenge porn. So what do we have here in terms of why she was let go? There's no revenge porn. It's that famous morality clause that gets all the TV stars, all the NBA players, all the NFL players in trouble. Even if you didn't technically break a law, if you did something that they feel like is immoral. And again, it's to the subjectivity, right, of your employer, in this case NBC Bravo. If they still feel like what you did broke some sort of moral code, they can still terminate you. And in this case, Kenya's made it clear she has not been terminated. She still has a relationship. She's almost putting it in the category of she's on pause, right? Because they're actually still showing her up into these episodes of this.
He's fading her off, though. They're fading her off, right?
Right. But she's almost been on, I mean, I think they're up to episode 4 this season. She's been on every single episode up to this point, because before she showed the poster, she was going to be a main character. So it's going to be hard to edit her out of a lot of the footage. Obviously, this poster does not have her, but it would have had her, but for the producers giving her that poster and so on and so on. So you see that Kenya hasn't filed a wrongful termination suit either. There've been no filings, because technically she's on pause. Technically, this isn't revenge porn, so that's why you don't see that. And then in terms of defamation, I mean, I don't know who made what false statements against whoever, but you have to prove that, the best thing with defamation, or the best defense to defamation, is if something is the truth, then it's not obviously defamation.
Yep.
All right, I want to go to you, Attorney Carter. Explain to me the wrongful termination or retaliation lawsuit.
Yeah, and
what will actually, I'm fascinated by this. What would actually constitute? So what if Bravo says, okay, Kenya, you're not coming back?
Right.
Could she sue for wrongful termination at that point?
As the much better looking Attorney Carter explained, no. And here's why. Because and you know this very well from your experience. These reality show contracts have nothing, no protection. You're not an employee, all right? You're an at-will contractor. The contract says we could get rid of you tomorrow for no reason, because your breath stink, all right? Because, you step on my toe. It has such broad provisions that allow you to get off. And here's the thing about it. They don't owe anything to their employees. Think about how crazy it is. You know how you can protect your employees from, from work and safety hazards? We got reality shows where they put you out in the middle of the woods naked. All right, and say, you know what? You sign a waiver, because if your wee-wee falls off, if it freezes off from frostbite, that's just too bad. All right, because we don't care. So their contracts are so open-ended that there's almost nothing you could sue them for, because they terminated you. You don't really have any rights to be there at all. So she doesn't have any problem there. Now, one thing though, about the revenge porn, there is not. I agree. It's not going to. No one. The police are not going to come and arrest her, because that is a crime, by the way. In Georgia, you can go to jail for that. If you were to say, take a picture from your ex and then post it online, all right? Okay. Here's a situation where this is a picture that was already online, and there's a civil claim for this though, called public disclosure of private facts. So, for instance, if I go online and find some pictures from Jason, spring break '87, all right, and I have our producer, our bailiff, posted, hypothetically speaking, all right, that could be a problem, and he can sue me civilly, because even though it was something he did and it was out, he didn't. It's a public disclosure of private facts. This is why I spent a lot of time looking at this today, and I want to talk to the algorithms about this. This is important, all right. Public disclosure of private facts also includes when you catch when you've been sneaking around with some married man, and then you get mad and decide to tell his wife, and you show pictures to the wife. Yeah, hypothetically.
That's illegal.
Right? What?
That's
so
illegal.
if you sneak around with a married man and you get mad and say, you know what, he's supposed to leave his wife, and then you decide you're gonna drop dime, contact the wife, show her the text and all of that, that's public disclosure of private facts. And the wife can sue you if she decided to keep him. And we had a case earlier, a couple years ago in Georgia, where this is exactly what happened. It was actually the husband sneaking around with some woman, and he gets mad and contacts, the husband, the boyfriend, sneaking around with a married woman. He contacts the husband, says, hey, I've been sleeping with your woman, which, by the way, is real dangerous. I don't recommend that ever, okay? But he sends her nude pictures of his wife, and he's seen her nude, but he wants to let her know, I've seen her naked too. And he sends copies of the text and says, look, this is all the kind of stuff we've been talking about. She said you got a little one and don't last long and all the stuff. She turned around and sued him, said you ruined my marriage, and got $166,000.
Wow.
So the fact that I'm just simply saying what stays in the dark, what happens in the dark might want to stay in the dark, because if you go ahead and expose it, and there is no excuse that the other party, the spouse, deserved to know.
Now,
right?
is that state specific, or is that
That's
like
most states have a law that says public disclosure of private facts. And what it says is if you disclose private facts about an individual and it's harmful to them and you don't have their consent to do so, then there is a possible cause of action. And the only way there isn't is if there's a public reason to do it. So, for instance, you can disclose facts about the Trump administration, all right, and sending, what was that, Signalgate, because there's a public reason for that. There's a reason to do. So politicians are sort of fair game in that regard. But a regular person, if you know something about them, all right, they got drunk at a party and told you something they shouldn't have told. If you go ahead and disclose that to other people, there's possible civil liability for doing so.
That's really.
Hey, let me come on this side so I can be aware of my surroundings.
What's up, baby?
Oh my God.
Bye for a second.
All right. No, we're not done. We're not done. We're still catching this moment.
Okay, because it's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Hold on. Let me find my husband
Okay.
first.
You want to I have so many things though. This is a
I
lot.
mean, I still got my pistol, so I'm sure we're good.
Girl, Kenny's here. We ain't worried. Okay, can I put this in my car? What are we doing?
I don't know.
I was almost. I knew I should have just worn.
Well, how are you guys enjoying?
I just want to put.
How are you guys enjoying this season of the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Drop down in the chat. Who knew it was going to be so interesting?
So this storyline I like to call sex, guns, and reality TV, right? Because it kind of captures everything that we're talking about. I agree with Attorney Carter when she was describing the case. However, I think that there might be an even stronger defense on Britt's part to say she wasn't even talking to Kenya, right? Like she was talking to her girls that were still there. She doesn't make eye contact with her.
Right. Right.
She says these things that are like general things like, yeah.
No. Remember, she's talking directly to Kenya. She says, Kenya, ain't nobody afraid of you. You do that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Because over here, I'm a real gangster. I got guns. No, she's talking directly to Kenya.
But the guns and stuff were said after those direct things. If you watch the thing, like it's almost like mumbling and she's carrying the other stuff out. And that would at least be the argument that I'm talking about, is that the direct stuff was like, Kenya, don't come for me because I ain't no punk. And then she tells the other people too much, I'm not no punk. I got whips. I don't know what the whips are. Usually those are for sexual things, but maybe she's pulling it out there like it's roots or something. And he's got, I mean, I don't know how the whips play into the intimidation factor, but I don't live in Atlanta. My sister does, so maybe they're doing it differently down there. But I think this is funny. I do, but I agree with everyone who says that the connection with Kenya's departure from the show and this event, I think what happened at her launch for her business was a superseding cause that kind of like gave her own exit path. And whether or not she has a cause of action based on this argument will be separate, but it's not going to get her placed back on the show.
Okay. All right, everybody, this is the time of the show that we go back through the cases and see and we decide if they're guilty or not guilty. But before we do that, please hit the like button. We have a large number of people in the chat today and viewing. Please also hit the share button. The subscribe button. If you already subscribed, be sure to invite people and share. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, continue to drop down in the chat. First up, Marsau Scott. Is he guilty or not guilty for respecting the law? Attorney Entertainment Esquire Carter, what say you?
Oh, he's guilty.
Attorney Turner?
Yeah, I don't care about this one that much, but yeah, I mean, since he didn't show up to court, he's definitely guilty in the court of public opinion and in real court as well.
Attorney Weiss?
Guilty. Judges don't like when you don't show up.
So I'm learning that on here. And Attorney Carter, Sean Carter?
Yeah, he's guilty.
All right, we're going to find Marsau Scott in the Supreme Court guilty as charged. Next up, Mr. Plummer from Zeus Network. Is he guilty or not guilty of not compensating the original investors? Attorney Entertainment Esquire Carter, guilty or not guilty?
It's guilty because the K1s aren't matching their bank accounts.
Attorney Turner?
Oh, she made me laugh. She said K1 and I thought she was saying KY and it was a whole different story. But no, yes, guilty.
Attorney Weiss?
I want to see the papers first before I make a decision of guilty or not guilty.
All right, Attorney Carter?
I saw him out there acting like he was at Magic City, throwing money into a crowd and giving away Gucci bags. And I don't know about you, but unless we get married for about 38 years, and you ain't getting the Gucci bag, so he's guilty for just being silly.
All right, I'm a Judge Al, and we're going to find Plummer guilty as charged. I don't think that if you're going to make millions and millions of dollars and you're supposed to be so successful, pay the people that started the success train. All right, Sean Kingston, is he guilty or not guilty of embezzlement? No, that's his mother. A fraud. Esquire attorney.
Yeah, he's guilty. He didn't pay the people, and he got fraud of theft of services and all sorts of fraud. So yeah.
Attorney Turner.
I mean, the caption says Sean Kingston and mom found guilty. So there you go.
All right, Attorney Weiss.
He's guilty for not getting his mom a wig.
Oh,
yeah. I was gonna say that.
Attorney Carter.
That's exactly what Daniel Cameron said. All right, he's obviously stole her wig money too. I'm gonna tell you this though, and this is a good advice for everybody. If you're gonna do something, that by the way, if you're gonna steal people from people, don't have them install the stuff that you steal in your house. They can find you.
Right.
2, and this is where he got in trouble.
Yeah.
He actually sent a text to his mama saying, "Send over the fraudulent wire." And when he did that, he made it a federal offense. Understand? Anything you do with your cell phone becomes a federal crime.
Oh my God.
Right. All right. I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're going to find the mother guilty for a hairline that's down her back. Guilty. And Sean Kingston guilty for looking wellish on house arrest. Guilty. All right. Next up, Marvin Sapp. Is he guilty or not guilty for false imprisonment, like the ladies say? Attorney Entertainment Esquire Carter, what say you?
Originally, I was going to say guilty, but I feel like Judge Al, you made a very compelling argument, so I'm going to say not guilty.
All right, I'm glad it's working here. All right, Attorney Turner.
You know, his parishioners were singing "Never Would Have Made It." So I think Pastor Sapp is guilty.
Attorney Weiss.
Not guilty.
All right, Attorney Carter.
We all skipped over the big part. What he's guilty of is singing that "Never Would Have Made It" song at a Diddy party.
Oh my God.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
He did not.
I read that too.
Attorney Carter, you are messy boots. I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. And Marvin Sapp may be guilty for singing at Diddy's party, but he's not guilty. Not guilty for false imprisonment. Last up is Kenya Moore, guilty or not guilty of revenge porn? Esquire Attorney Carter, what say you?
Not guilty. Wasn't transmitted according to the Georgia law.
Attorney Turner.
I agree with Attorney Carter. She got off on a technicality.
Yep.
Attorney Weiss.
Not guilty, not care.
Listen, you can't be on a black celebrity show.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just
I care about the black celebrities, brother.
I care about them, but just not the show.
All right, Attorney Carter, what say you?
I think Kenya Moore is guilty. And let me tell you what she's guilty of.
Okay.
Spent a good hour today trying to find those Brit pictures. And she owed me an hour of my time. I couldn't find them nowhere. She found them somewhere.
Yeah.
I was trying to see them. Technically, hypothetically, I'm trying to do my research. By the way, people, this ain't me. I just do my research.
Oh,
who knew y'all was such perverts? All right, I'm Al. I'm the judge here. We're gonna find Kenya Moore not guilty. Not guilty. All right, everybody. What a night we had tonight. Now you've heard the testimonies and you've seen the receipts. But before you reach your verdict on your own, let me leave you with this. Listen. Justice isn't a storyline. It's not even a cliffhanger. It's not subject to editing either. The law may be blind, but in today's celebrity culture, it's often manipulated by the person's fame, money, or media spin. When the cameras cut, real lives are still at stake. Real victims are still traumatized, and real laws are definitely still broken. Yet we still ask, should fame soften a sentence? Should followers influence a felony? And who's really protected in a system where wealth can buy silence, but it definitely can't buy innocence? This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, where we don't just judge the drama, we question the system. Every Night Court is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us.